Good morning, y'all. I'm having a little difficulties. I have both streams going. So, good morning. Um, Hope you're all doing okay. If not, hopefully I'll make the day a little bit brighter. I'm not sure. Um, let's say hello to people who are here. I'm going to be looking at my iPad. I have both YouTube on my iPad and um, StreamYard on my computer. So first in this morning was Geek Boy. Thank you very much for showing up. Jennifer Weaver, good afternoon or good morning for me here. It's still early in the morning, not early, 10:30. Paul Sotero, Jennifer Weaver, Kay Holiday, Color Guppies, good morning, Vinay. Um, then we have Dee Dee and Chris Salazar, Red Laser, the Red Laser Catfish. So what I want to do this morning, I want to make sure everybody can hear me. Someone give me the thumbs up if we're okay out there. Good morning, Allison. I'll be coming back to people who are here this morning. I was waiting for Rico Stan's show this morning. I came late to the morning show this morning. So I don't know if he announced he was not going to go. So I was here trying to figure out what was going on with Rico's stream this morning. So what I want to do is, if I can do this, is I want to talk about really how we as hobbyists can get involved in conservation efforts. And so I'm going to share screen. Let's see, window, okay. So, one of the things that we often have is people want to know, what can we do? We're worried about fish disappearing in the wild. We're worried about fish disappearing in the hobby. And so what can we do? So I just want to give you a few fish that are actually very rare in the wild now, and things we're doing at the research center to try to help alleviate that, and then things you can do as hobbyists. So the white cloud is endemic to China. There's also another species in Vietnam, but the white cloud in its native habitat is pretty well extinct. It's a very common species, very common fish in the hobby because it's bred by the millions in Southeast Asia, very easily bred in your home tanks. One of the things it needs is cooler water since it is a mountain fish. It doesn't do well, doesn't breed well in the higher tropical temperatures that we keep our fish. So low 70s, high 60s, these fish, that's about the extent of their temperature range, the higher end. But they do well in home aquariums or even in ponds. I have some out in my pond in my backyard that survive. Here in Southern California, it doesn't really get that cold in the wintertime. Water may be 50 degrees, which is perfect conditions for these fish. But this is one fish that we as hobbyists keep, and that the fish farmers in Southeast Asia and in Florida are keeping alive through their extensive captive breeding. Another fish that still in the hobby, you don't see it as much as you used to see, is red-tailed shark. Again, another Chinese endemic fish. It is completely extinct in the wild, primarily from habitat destruction, not so much overexploitation, but again, these are bred routinely in Florida, in Southeast Asia. So they're still in the hobby. And so we as hobbyists, by buying these fish, keep these fish alive, so to speak. Now, whether or not we can help recover populations, that's another story. And the most dramatic was probably the celestial pearl danios. They were discovered in the 90s in Myanmar. They are found in small swamps. Within a few years after its discovery, this fish was pretty well wiped out in its native habitat. But we know many of you, I've spawned these here at my house. They are being spawned by the billions. So again, it's a fish that is being kept in the hobby. It is being kept alive, and it's not extinct. Even though it may be critically endangered or extinct in the wild, it's not extinct from the hobby. And we have to look at it, is a fish really extinct if we have it in the hobby? Potentially what we could do is start captive breeding programs and reintroducing these things to their native habitats, but that's a long process. You don't want to introduce any diseases, any parasites into the natural environment that may in fact affect other fish. This has been done with godiads in Mexico, where they've introduced 2 or 3 species back into their native waters. But again, they were bred in captivity, brought into Mexico, put out in outside ponds for a year to have them get used to natural conditions, and then released into the native areas that used to have these godiads. Now, at the research center, we're working right now with the red pencilfish. Red pencilfish, very brightly colored fish. It's actually critically endangered in Peru. It's only found in one location, and that is, if you see here, the starting location here, it's a little village called Alvarenga. Alvarenga is about a slow boat, about a good 2 days boat ride from Iquitos. Here is Iquitos down here, which is the major fish exporting area in Peru. These fish are collected during the low water season. They live amongst the branches. They like a lot of cover, a lot of not necessarily aquatic plant cover, but terrestrial plant cover. They're found amongst the twigs and the root systems of these trees. And they are exported by the thousands, tens of thousands every year, but yet they're critically endangered. Overfishing is one of the causes, and it's the cause that the IUCN says has led to their downfall in the environment, but also habitat destruction. People will cut down the forest for agricultural purposes, whether it's agriculture for food, or in this area, there is a very lucrative business opportunity for people who want to do some farming, and that is through cocaine farming. So they grow the coca bush, and then it's taken somewhere else to process into cocaine. And so this area is a very wild area. Alvarenga is probably only a little village of 400 or 500 people. There are, not many people out in this area. So it's an area that is ripe with opportunities for that illegal agriculture. So what we have done at the research center is that we started a captive breeding program, and this is one of the ponds that we have on site. We had to empty this pond completely out during the last flood a couple of years ago. Most of the ponds that we were using filled up with guppies, which is an invasive, filled up with gouramis and other invasive, as well as tilapia. And in these ponds, there's a lot of natural predators that come in through the little streams around this area. So there was a lot of symbranchid eels, which predate on small fish. So we completely emptied the pond, let it dry out for a couple weeks, went through and dug up some of the sediment because the symbranchid eels will actually go into the sediment and reach the moist areas. Made sure there was nothing in there. We used some natural rotenone, which killed off the remaining guppies that may have been hiding in some of the small puddles. Again, let that sit some more. And then we slowly added water to this pond. We get natural seepage through the soil. The water table is only about 6 inches below the surface layer. So if you see this area here, the brown area of the soil, this sand area is actually where the water table is. So the water fills up, and then we have an overflow pipe that the water then will overflow out. And what we did is we added 100 pencilfish into this area. No one knows what the actual sex ratio need. Some people say a pair of red pencilfish is fine for breeding. Others say maybe a trio or a reverse trio. So what we added is we added 50 male and 50 female red pencilfish that were brought in by one of the local fishermen. And we released them into this pond. This is our resident manager, Carlos, who's releasing them. And then 6 months later, so we released them in mid-January. In mid-June, we'll go in and seine the pond, count the number of fish in there to see if we had breeding occurring. If we had breeding occurring in this pond, we can then replicate it in other ponds, and then we can have a sustainable population that we can then, with the permission of the Department of Fisheries and Department of Environment, release them back into their native ranges in order to try to reestablish these populations. As a research center, we don't sell any of the fish that we produce on site or anywhere else into the retail market, into the export market. We are totally a research center that is there for pure research and education. So what we will do with some of the fishermen from Alvarenga is bring them into the research center, show them how to build their ponds, and see if they're willing to capably breed these fish so they have a ready-made population, so they don't have to go out into the environment and catch as many as they normally do in the environment. So this will actually help the population recover. Another thing you can do as hobbyists is try to find fish that are on the CARES species list. Now, the CARES species list was developed originally by the American Cichlid Association with the help of Paul Ozell, who really led the effort for the CARES priority list or species list. And so what you have here is you have all these family of fishes that they say that we should be working with some of these fish. Now, one of the problems that we have in most of the CARES species is that they tend not to be the most brightly colored species per se. Some are hard to reproduce in the lab. Some are very hard to get. But it's something worthwhile. So what I want to do is I want to share another screen with the CARES species. I can't find it right now because I wanted to go through and look at some of those species that were there. Let me see. Okay. So let me go back to share now. Sorry, y'all. I had this all perfectly worked out before I came here. Okay, so there we go. So let me go back here. Let me share this now. Share screen, a window. And so this is the care species list for one particular group of cichlids. And so the classification is endangered, vulnerable, critically endangered. The one that we don't see here is EW, which means extinct. Here you go, extinct in the wild. And so these are fish within the cichlid group that people have put on the CARES list that we as hobbyists should try to reproduce, try to breed, and then sell them to other people in the hobby for them to do the same. So it keeps a species that is critically endangered or vulnerable in the wild in the hobby, and it prevents the overexploitation of those species in their native habitats. Now, one of the problems we have with the CARES list is that it has not been updated in a while. So let's go back to the families, and you can see the different. Let's look at tetras. So according to them, there's only 3 tetras that should be on the list, but there's many more tetras now that are actually put on the IUCN list for vulnerable and critically endangered. If we go to Rivulus, which are the killifish. There is a killifish in Peru that is pretty well extinct that does not appear on this list either. And so Astrolebus, Cynolebius, these are all, and Rivulus, these are all New World killifish. And there's many more killifish that are there. Some of these are nice looking fish, especially the Astrolebus. If I have killifish, I prefer the South American, the Astrolebus and the Cynolebius, just because they tend to be, they're much different than our African killifish in terms of what they look like. It's, to me, even though they're not as spectacularly colored as some of the African killifish, and African killifish are, especially the annual killifishes, are brightly colored, because if you're a male fish and you have 3 months to live, you want to be brightly colored so you can attract a mate, so you can pass your genes off. That their whole life is spent trying to find a mate in order for its genes to be passed on to the next generation. So to do that, you want to advertise your fitness. You advertise how good you are by how brightly colored you are. And so the annual killifishes tend to be very, very bright, whereas the killifishes that don't die within a short period of time tend to be duller in colors in the natural sense, in their native environments, than the annual killifishes. So if we go back and look at some of, we do have some in some that are kept in the hobby. Some of the Danios, some of the Garas, Puntias are the barbs. and Tannichthyes is the mountain minnows. So there are various fishes, a lot of fish that can be kept as a CARES species that really aren't kept. So if you're a member of a local club, it would be good for each local club or the fish fam to have a CARES program. Take a fish. You know, there's a lot of people who keep godiads. I know Skull keeps godiads. Various other people keep godiads, which are on the CARES list. Let's see, where's the CARES? Believe here. Nope. No, I'm lost for what they belong to. So the gambusias, we think of gambusia as Gambusia affinis, which is the mosquito fish that's found all over the place. But there's all sorts of gambusia that are found in the Southwest into Mexico that are on this CARES list, as well as some of the Xiphosphoras, the swordtails, and some of the guppy, the guppy group, Picelia and Piceliopsis, which is a group of fish, a genus of fish that are not very brightly colored. They're kind of dull, but most of these live within Mexico and the Southwest US that has undergone rapid habitat destruction. So really today was going to be a short one. We are here, I'm here to answer any questions about anything. Do remember though that the Amazon Research Center is having a raffle for a free trip for 2 people to Peru at the Amazon Research Center for a week. We will cater your itinerary to whatever you want. If you want to go collecting, we'll set up collecting trips for you, get the local fishermen. I just looked at Rico's comment, speaking of short ones. I'm sorry, I should not look at comments while I'm talking. But this is a great opportunity for people. It's a great opportunity for us. You know, we're using this as a way to raise money for the research center. The research center runs off of donations, 100% off of donations, and we're getting to the point now where we're at the home stretch. We're trying to finish off the aquarium. The aquarium hopefully will be finished by June 24th. That is the tentative opening date. So if you win the trip, you can work at the aquarium for a week, collect for a week, just come and relax for a week. You know, sit in the lounge chairs, sleep in the hammocks, drink pina coladas all day long. That's fine with me if you want to do that. But it's an opportunity for you to see the Amazon, have opportunity for you to see the fish in the wild, look at the habitats that your fish are from. When we go collect, we always take water samples. We look at water chemistry, so you can actually see and physically observe the water chemistry that these fish are found in. It's remarkable, some of the environments that we see these fish in. There's a sailfin tetra, Carnucleus. We find, one of the places we find them is a small pond, and that pond has a pH of about 3.5. Very soft water, almost maybe 20, 30 microsiemens, which probably is 0.5 kh, however you want to measure it. But they do perfectly fine there. They are cave breeders, and so they find little caves in the banks where they actually breed. So this is a great opportunity for individuals to actually come down, see the environment. If you're a YouTuber, you want to come down to your YouTube from there, that's fine. I have no problems doing that. But we want people to have a good experience. So are there any questions? Jerome, you're talking about me. I like to change my hair, or was that for Stefan? So so we've had some people come in after I said my highs. Allison Nicholson, Ian, Rico, Dee Dee. I hope you're having a good day. So please hit the like button if you like this. Subscribe to the channel. Do whatever you want. No, I have no stylish hairdos today. That was just for that special Sunday special last night that I had my nice hair. My wife prefers me this way anyway. She likes rubbing the top of my head for good luck. So, any questions? Please. Okay, so I'll see if there's any questions here because this is the live chat. And as I was saying, Rico, I'm sorry we missed you today. I went to your live stream and you never showed up. So Didi asks, if YouTubers were to come as a group, could they and how many could be accommodated? It really depends on what's happening. Even if there was not room at the research center per se, there is a hotel in town that I've been dealing with for many, many years that has rooms that we could probably get for $30 a night, $30 to $40 a night. It's a very comfortable hotel. So if you're interested in coming as a group, please let me know and I can arrange everything for you. And so we can talk about, costs and everything of that sort. So let's see. Paul Sotero asks, are there any stingrays in Peru? Yes, there are about, I think, 8 different species of stingrays. We will have stingrays in the aquarium. Remember those stingrays, to export stingrays, you need CITES permits now. So they are CITES protected. And so it's something that you have to think about if you want to, if you're one of these people who want to bring stuff back. Daniel Velez asks, how do you deal with inbreeding and biodiversification? Inbreeding doesn't seem to be that much of a problem for most fish. 50 males, 50 females is a big enough founder population that we shouldn't have a problem. And we're only talking about 1 or 2 generations within the ponds. And so within that 1 or 2 generations, we're going to be, if it's successful, we have the ability to release those fish back into the wild where they'll be mixed up with the rest of the population. And so that's not really something that seems to be that big of a problem. Look at guppies. You line breed them many generations, and it's only until 20-30 generations that you start getting some of the problems that we see. Stingray, so we've asked that question. Afternoon, everybody. How do you ensure there's no predatory interlopers in your pond? Well, there may be. I'm sure there's plenty of aquatic insects that are aquatic insects that are in the ponds, but that's something they're going to have to deal with. We don't remove any of these predators. The only thing we try to remove are if symbranchid eels or some of the other predatory fish get into those ponds, which can happen. But the predatory insects and the other things that we have there, that's just part of the natural system. And so if they can't deal with them there, they're not going to be able to deal with them in their native environment, where they're dealing with not only the insects, the other invertebrates, but also the predatory fish. So the only thing we're excluding from our ponds are these predatory fish. We've got birds. There's nothing you can do about birds. It's not like we're going to have a bird can in there to, shoo away all the birds. That's just part of the system. Let's see. Anything else? Do you find Cory Watsmani when collecting? No, Cory Watsmani are found in southern Brazil, in the Madre de Dios region. This is an area that is undergoing rapid habitat destruction, primarily for gold mining. If you look at Google Maps and you go to the Madre del Dios region, you can see that this place has just been devastated by gold mining. It's not gold mining like we think of. We dig holes. What they do is they take these large water cannons and spray down the banks of the river. That puts all that sediment into solution into the rivers. So it basically smothers everything. Then once they start finding gold, they will extract the gold, concentrate the gold using mercury. And that leftover mercury is thrown into the water. They've done mercury sampling on people to look at mercury content in a person's body. They actually take hair samples and they analyze the hair. And the miners, the people who live in these villages, are just, their body is loaded with mercury. And we know mercury can lead to a lot of genetic problems if they're going to have children, but also can cause a lot of problems for you functionally. There's a disease called Matsumoto's disease, and it causes you to slow down, your speech to slur. The mercury concentrates in your brains, and it's not a good thing to happen. ABC Aquatic Biotoc Creations asks, do you only deal with fish or other things like poison dart frogs? And if so, what species of poison dart frog can be found in the area? I used to be a dart frog addict. I will admit, I have one of these personalities that I have an addictive problem. I can't have one of something. I have to have 100 of something. And so we had our house filled with poison dart frogs, and part of my fish room was poison dart frogs. There are 2 poison dart frogs in the area. We'll actually have them in our aquarium. We'll have a terrarium display. There are reticulatus, the small red, brightly colored red poison dart frog, as well as Ventromaculatus. They are both there. Ventromaculatus tends to stay up in the trees. Reticulatus tends to stay down in the forest canopy. So, people want to go, they want to do a photo excursion for their 7 days. We can do that. Bird excursion, anything you want to do, we can actually do for you. Okay, let's see. Steven will be created a special song. Not quite sure special song for what, but I want Steven to have a rap song, conservation rap song, when I go to Fishtoberfest, when he introduces me. See, anything else? If I play and win this trip to a one-way trip, thinking about visiting my uncle who lives in, yeah, I mean, you can, if there's other things you want to do when you're in Peru, that's fine. You can do that as well. We pay for a round trip ticket for two to your city, to Iquitos, Peru, and back. And whatever you do in the meantime, that's up to you. You can use Iquitos as your base to fly to other places. You have to always fly to Lima, but that can be done. So I thought Weizmanni were in Peru. Yes, they are in Peru. They're in southern Peru, the Rio Vilcanota system. Yep, it's in the Madres del Dios region. That's the same area in southern Peru. We're in Iquitos. We're in the northwest corner of Peru. There are 4 or 5 species of corridors that we normally collect. Julii, Corridor Shuri, Corridorus, they call it Shuri luminoso. But it's routine. These are routinely caught by us when we go out and collect. So there are some cories there, just not Cory Weizmanni. Yes, I'm known for my fish shirts when I teach my fish biology class, my aquaculture class, or my aquatic conservation courses at the university. I always wear a fish shirt. So I have about 20, 30 fish shirts. I'm not teaching a fish course this semester, only ecology. So the only time I wear a fish shirt is when I do the stream. So yes, it'll be a different fish shirt every time. And maybe, if you're nice to me, I will wear the hair next time. See, that's my lovely Sunday best now. Okay, any other last minute questions? Please highlight it with at Amazon Research Center. I, hope to see you all. I do appreciate you guys coming. Hopefully next week, I'm trying to bring on a guest to talk about some of the work they're doing. I have not heard back from them. But in the comments after the video is done, if there's a particular topic you want me to talk about in terms of conservation, I can talk about aquariums as well. I'm a hobbyist, been a hobbyist for 50 years, over 50 years. But I want people to really, I want to cater to your guys' need. Alishan, as far as I know, there are no Peruvian cichlids on the CARES list. But again, the CARES list hasn't been updated for at least 3 to 4 years. Some of the epistogrammas, recently discovered epistogrammas, are exceedingly rare because they were over collected. We also have epistogrammas on site at the research center that are easily bred in pond situations. The Peruvian chameleon loricarid now is extremely rare. The fishers are taking maybe, where every time they'd go out, they'd catch 5 or 6. Now it takes them a week to catch 5 or 6 chameleon loricarids. And they're not catching adults anymore. We know there's adults there, but they're catching smaller and smaller fish. So it is a fish that needs to be protected. The problem is, even with the red pencilfish, and it's denoted as critically endangered, the Peruvian government does not want to do anything to hurt the fish exportation that whole sector of that whole business sector. So there are not many regulations in Peru to prevent the exportation and the overexploitation of these fish. That's something we're trying to get with the government and see if they will change their ways. But it's just hard to, what happens is with each government change, a new set of ministers come in, just like here in the U.S., and each one of them has their own agenda. So right now it's a pro-business agenda. They don't want to hurt those business sectors. Paul asks, what pistos do we normally see? Cacatoides, Pisto bitiniata. There's agassizes around. You can get further out, 8-9 hour boat ride away from Iquitos. You get into a Pistogramma Alto Tapichi, which is undescribed. Within the Iquitos area, we also get a Pistogramma Alto Topayo, the Sunset Apisto, a Pistogramma Diamante. So there are probably 8 to 10 readily accessible Pistogrammas just in the area around Iquitos. So, it's a paradise if you know where to go. And one thing we use, fishermen, and I have my own secret spots where I collect spotted angelfish, red spotted, black spotted angelfish. And so it's, some of the fishermen don't want to give up their secret spots, but I've been there for 14 years. I know a lot of the secret spots now. Peru government has been controlled by Japanese, Peruvians, etc. No, not since Fujimori was sent to prison. His daughter has run for president the last couple of times, and she's been defeated. So that really isn't much of an issue anymore. The issue is really corruption. There's major corruption in the government there. He who has the most money gets legislation passed. Do I have a list of fish that people that there? I could make up a list very easily just by, when we go out collecting. When I was collecting for scientific purposes, I would keep, a total of all the fish that we collect. So that's very easily gotten, and I can provide that on, in one of the comment sections, or just make a short video of these are the fish that are found in the area, and maybe I have a picture of them and their species name, a video of that sort. You can collect monster fish. They are, most people collect them using hook and line, even the large catfish, the big Lindsay cat, which is not big. It's, only probably about 3 feet long. Those are caught by hook and line. So we do catch small peacock bass when we go out and collect. One of the things that peacock bass do when you surround them with a seine is they jump. Even a small peacock bass can jump 3-4 feet out of the water. And so in many cases, those peacock bass will jump out of our seines, even though we have a 100-foot seine that we're surrounding a large area and we're looking for a particular fish. If it's peacock bass, they're difficult to catch with seines. After discus, pistos are my favorite species. Yes, pistos can be very beautiful. Great parental care, and so they're actually one of my favorite species. I imported probably 10 species of pistos in September. that I gave out to people that I knew that were really interested in the fish. What kind of Peruvian fishes are the tastiest? Kelly Foreman. Dr. Foreman, actually, the tastiest fish in Peru is the arapima. Even though it's it is the largest Amazonian fish, can get up to 6 to 7 to 8 feet long, depending on what species. They now figure there's 3 or 4 species of arapima, and it is endangered. But there are fish farms in Iquitos that only breed arapima. So arapima that you get in the grocery stores or in the open markets are going to be farm raised arapima. And arapima is a very, lack of a better term, a very beefy fish. You cut it like a steak, no fishy taste at all. And so it is really a good piece of meat. Another one is gamitana or pacu, 2 different species, but very similar. With gamitana, you actually cook the fish whole you grill it, and it's very, very tasty. You ever come across pre-Columbian artifacts? In there you collect fish around. No pre-Columbian artifacts at all. If I did, I would have to turn them in. And, but no, it's pre-Columbian artifacts mostly in the mountainous regions in Peru, not where we're at. The water parameters of the majority of Iquitos collection locations. I have a talk on waters of the Amazon. We think the Amazon is just one type of water. We do collect in the Amazon River itself. There are some catfish that we collect there. There's a hatchet fish, a large silver hatchet fish that gets up to about 4 inches long. Not what people call the giant hatchet fish. There's a fish called the giant hatchet fish that the locals called sardina. It is a food fish. But in the Amazon River itself, the pH is about 6.7 to 6.8. TDS is out of, off the charts because of all the sediments. In terms of microsiemens, it's about 200 microsiemens, which is fairly hard water. Most of the rivers, small rivers, the Rio Nanay, the Itaya, the Rio Mamon, and all the little streams that enter into those rivers are blackwater rivers. So pH tends to be 6 and below. Water is very soft, 20, 30, 40 microsiemens. And so it's really black water environments that we're dealing with. Did I miss anybody else? Let's see. You can use hook and line for peacocks. Yeah. What species are peacocks? There's only one species of peacock in Iquitos, and of course, I don't remember right now, but I will put it in the comment section. Have I written a book or plan to based upon your research? We don't write books. In science, we write scientific articles. And it's a long process to get scientific articles published. So I have one that is going through the process right now. I had one that I was part of looking at predators and prey at that meeting of Blackwater and Whitewater in Manaus. And so if we have a book, it would probably be a picture book. We are doing a lot of surveys of some of these local streams, and we may develop a series of photo books for each of those streams, so people, so you can see what's in them. Because each of these small streams whether it's on the Itaya or the Rio Nanai, are going to have a different composition of fish. Even though they're all going into, their own separate rivers, each of these streams are going to have something completely different. Yes, oh black water, keep on rolling, Mississippi moon, won't you keep on shining on me? That's my best rendition. My daughter's ex-family is from Peru. His dad works for the World Wildlife Fund. She visited Lima and other locations. Really enjoyed it. Well, Alishan, send the World Wildlife Center my way. Young man, so Patrick likes my shirt. I'm not a young man. I'll be 62 in 2 weeks. On my birthday, I will be on a live stream with Lefty. He's asked me to be on his live stream. Just so happened to be the day of my birthday, and I actually will be in Peru at that time. I leave for Peru again on the 18th. No, did I say the night? Well, I leave for Peru on the 18th of this month and come back on the 29th. So I'm there for 10 days just to make sure the filtration system and all the, our pumps and the aquariums are all set up, ready to add fish. We want to add fish a couple months ahead of time. We want to make sure everything works fine. Are there any North American native fish that have been introduced in Peru? No North American natives. Well, yes, there is one. The first introduction of fish into Peru was in 1934 in Lake Titicaca. And there they introduced lake trout into the lake to supplement the fishing and for sport fishing. As I said last time in my first stream, what it did, it wiped out the native fishes there. The native fishes are what the locals wanted to eat. They didn't want to eat trout. And some areas, trout is considered to be a trash fish. It's like how we think of as carp here in the U.S., even though carp in many other countries, in England, it's a sought after sport fish. And carp as a group, carp species are eaten more around the world than any other fish. So carp have a different connotation in many other countries than it does in the United States. Is that it, everybody? Any last minute questions? We're about 4 minutes till. I'm looking at my iPad, see if I missed anything, since on StreamYard it doesn't show everybody's comments. Stephen P. When I was in my master's program, I worked with farm-raised catfish in Natchitoches, Northwestern State University in Louisiana, and I hate farm-raised catfish. Ew, they have that bad taste to them. It's the diatoms that's in the environment, and it's not very good. So I just don't like catfish. You want to see my wild guppies? Well, wild guppies will be on the species list that you can find in Peru. So when I show the list of fish and the photos of the fish that you can find in Peru, I'll take a picture of my wild guppies. They're nothing spectacular. If you Google wild guppies, they just look like wild guppies. There used to be 3 different types of wild guppies in the area. In one little city called Santa Clara, which is a fishing village. Before they paved all the roads, they had little canals on the side of the road that the water would go through. And now all those canals are cemented gutters. And they used to have bright red wild guppies. They weren't a hybrid with fancy guppies. It was just bright red. In another area, they had baby blue, metallic blue guppies. Unfortunately, the ones I have that we find near the research center are just the normal guppies with a little bit of orange and black spotting on their body. But, I have some here at home. I have some at the university in the aquariums. I just, I like keeping wild stuff. I like live bears, one of the groups of fish that I like to keep, because they're easy. You keep them in small container, small aquariums. So it's one of my, preferred fish to keep. So everybody, I want to thank you all for coming today. Please, if you have any questions, any comments, please put them in the comment section and I will read those. Again, if there's anything in particular you'd like me to talk about, please feel free to write them down. Let me know. I'm an open book in terms of what you guys want me to talk about. When it comes to fish conservation, I always want to say conversation, because we're having a conversation here. But thank you. Take care, everybody. Thank you, mods, for helping out today. I just decided some people, volunteered to be mods this morning when I was couldn't figure out how to do the mods. I just decided to make some people mods without them knowing. So thank you, Dee Dee. Thank you, Geek Boy, for not volunteering. And thank you, Paul Sotero, for volunteering to be a mod. So if I missed anybody in today's stream but saying hi, sorry. I will catch you again next time. So thank you very much. Hope you all have a good day. Don't forget your water changes. Treat your fish right and treat your family right. So thank you.